What's up everyone, my name is El Lobo, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make better drum patterns that'll take your beats to the next level. I'll be giving away the drum loops made in this video, so make sure to watch until the end to find out how you can download those for free. To start, I grabbed this sample from the Wolfie drum kit, and then I added the G minor scale into my sampler channel inside of the channel rack. After that, I took my pattern 1, I highlight it, and then I just walk it all the way down so that it plays through the entire sample. From here, I opened up my channel rack, and you'll see I have a hi-hat, a clap, snare, kick, and my 808. Now let's right click on the hi-hat and select fill each 2 steps. After that, we're going to right click on the hi-hat again and open the piano roll. From here, I like to go every other one and drop it down a little bit. It doesn't really matter how far you go down unless you go all the way down, because then you won't be able to hear it. Doing this gives it more of a natural bounce and it doesn't sound so robotic when it's playing out. I'm going to go here and I'm just going to skip every other one and walk down all the way. After this, I took the first note of the hi-hat and I put it in between the second and the third, just like that. And I skipped this one, did it here. Same thing here. Skip, did it here. And we're just going to do this all the way down the line. Now when we play it, the hats have more bounce to them. And I'm just going to Control A and then Alt and then scroll on my scroller on my mouse to bring them down a little bit more. And that sounds pretty good. Now we'll move on to the clap. Open up your channel rack, right click, piano roll. Claps usually hit on the 3 and 7, which is a good starting point. But once I have the claps laid down, I'll listen to the vibe of the track and then adjust the claps to what I think sounds the best. Now you'll notice I have them on the 3 and 7, and then I have it added a little bit more, and then 3, and then this is actually hitting on the 8, and I'll just play this out. To count this out, every time the hi-hat hits, I count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I have my clap on the 3 and the 7, and then the and of the 8, and then it hits on the 3, and then again on the 8. This is a similar progression to drill beats where their claps and snares hit on the 3 and the 8. Then for the next 4 bars, it's the exact same, except at the end, my clap hits on the 7 and then on the 8. Now let's add the snare. I put mine on the and after the 4 count and the and after the 1 count. Then on the and after the 2 and the 3. And I'll count this out so you can see what I'm talking about. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 done. This is another thing that I'll just listen to the beat and find a vibe that I like. Don't be afraid to try different things, especially when it comes to your drums, because that's how you can find your sound that makes you stick out a little bit. Now down here, you'll notice our velocity channel again, and I have this one up a little high, this one down low, and this third one down a little bit more. Now for my favorite parts, the kick and the 808. Now I'm going to tell you something that not a lot of people on YouTube promote, and that is to play out your drums. Feel the vibe of the beat and then add your kick where you think it fits best. I've already done this, but to do this, you're just going to hit record, and then you're going to hit notes and automation and click this 3, 2, 1. When you press play, it's going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then from there, you'll be able to play out your kick. After we played it out, all you want to do is hit Control A and then Alt Q to quantize it. I added a few extra hits at the end. Now you'll notice down here I messed with the velocities, and that was because it's kind of getting in the way of the sound of my snare. So I just brought them down just a little bit. Keep in mind, your kick should always complement what you've already done with your claps and snares, and that's just a good rule of thumb to go by. Now we're going to come back into the channel rack. We're going to click on kick, and we're going to hit Control C, and then go down to the 808, and then we're going to hit Control V. What that's going to do is it's going to copy the same kick pattern into our 808. Now, a few things I do before working on my 808s, I'll come into here, I'll right click on my 808 and I'll select cut itself. After that, I'll left click here, and then I'll come over here, and depending on the length of the 808 itself, push this hold all the way up and then turn everything else down so that when my note stops, so does the 808. It doesn't keep ringing out. If you don't change this, it'll ring out for however long the 808 was designed to ring out. Now this 808 is an 808 that I actually designed. It is in the Wolfie drum kit. There'll be a link in the description below if you're looking for a new kit. The last thing that I like to do is I'll right click here, I'll edit in pitch editor, and then you'll see that up here, I'm at an A sharp. But down here, the majority of the 808 is on F2. So after I know the key of the 808, I'll come back over here, I'll go to C2 and then count up to my F, and then I'll right click on it. From here, I'll go into the piano roll of the 808 and I'll adjust the 808s accordingly. I've already done this one, but what I did was I like to have this go like boom, boom. So you'll hear that when it starts out. Now at the end here, you'll hear that it has more of a bounce than just those 3 hits from the kick. And that's because I kept my kicks hitting here, here, and here. But for the 808 itself, it actually moves over. So the hit hits here, my 808 hits again, and then at the end, my 808 hits one more time. And it gives it more of just like a shuffle feel. It adds more bounce to your kick and to your 808 collectively than if you were to just copy the same pattern and pull it over. There is no right way to do this. What sounds good, and it's all about practice and repetition. Now that we're done, I'll just load these up into some mixer channels and adjust accordingly. To do that, we'll go into our channel rack. You can highlight all of these and then hit Control L, but I've already pushed them to their own channel rack. So from here, I'm just gonna leave it as is. If you don't know how to level, there will be a link in the description of this video that you can click and add your email to, and then you'll automatically be sent a guide showing you where to start when it comes to leveling your drums. What I like to do to start is I'll bring my 808 down until up here, you'll see when I move this, is at about -6. Then I'm gonna hold Control, left click, drag over, and I'm gonna bring my kick down the same. Now, because this kick is so hard hitting, I won't need to sidechain these, but I am just going to bring it down a little bit so that I can hear more of the 808, and that's more there for an accent when the 808's not playing. And that sounds pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our clap. Looking at this kick and the 808, we're going to decide where to put our clap. So play it out. The kick's at about, what is that? About -17, and my 808 hitting at about 12. So I want my clap to hit right around 15. And that sounds pretty good. Next thing we're gonna do is the snare. I like to have my snares down a little bit quieter so they're more in the background and not so up front and taking your attention off what the rest of the beat is doing. Now for the last thing is the hi-hat. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put it all the way down. We're gonna play it until we can barely begin to hear it. Now from here, another thing that we can do to mess around with the way everything is sitting in the mix is I like to play with my panning knobs up here. So I'm gonna go over to my clap, I'm gonna listen to it, and I'm just gonna use my scroller on my mouse. I'm gonna go up 1 click, or I'm gonna go down 1 click, and I'm just gonna listen to that. If it's not as audible, then maybe I'll go up a little bit more, but it's all about testing. And then instead of doing the same thing on the hi-hat, one of the things that I like to do is I will add this fruity panomatic. This is how it'll look when you first pull it in. So you're gonna wanna go to pan. This controls how far out it'll go or how close to the center it'll move. Think about the center of this being your head, and this is your left ear, this is your right ear. This is how quickly it'll go back and forth panning the sound. And what I'll do is I'll nod my head to the sound of the beat and then try to get this to match up with it. Now, if we come over to my snare, you'll see I have this delay on it. This delay is set so that when it plays, it kind of rings out a little bit, but barely audible and just enough to keep it interesting throughout the beat. So that's all that does. Into my clap, I also have this fruity fast distortion. Take a picture of this. This is just a preset. And then what I did was I moved up the threshold. I brought my pre down, back up to the middle roughly, and then I brought my mix and my post to about the same. Sometimes when you add effects, it'll take away a little bit of your volume, so you can just add it back up using this post fader knob until it hits right. Now, another thing I like to do is I will add a little bit of reverb. And to do that, you'll see over here I have an instrument reverb bus. So I'll just take my snare, I'll make sure I highlight it. Then I'll come over to the reverb bus. I'll go down here, I'll right click and select route to this track only. From here, I added my reverb. These are the settings. I brought my size down around here, my cut to about a 1.5, my low cut to a 5, and then I brought down my cross, I brought down my dampening a little bit, and my decay is set to a 1.2 seconds. And then down here, when it's on a bus, take out your dry. You don't ever use dry when it's on a bus. Take it all the way out. This early, what is this? Early reflection level, I just brought it all the way down just because I like the way it sound. And then my wet level is at about a 55. From there, I use this knob. I just brought this down until it was barely audible. Adding a Panamatic to your hi-hats will shift it back and forth between the ears quickly enough that it's not super noticeable, gives it a different vibe. Adding distortion to your claps is a good way to get a better crunch onto that if you want a little bit more aggressive sound depending on your beat. And then adding delay and using reverb is a great way to give it more of an ambient sound and just, keep it interesting throughout the beat so people don't get too bored. Once our effects have been added and we've leveled everything, this is what we get for the beat. Now inside of this, I can use all this as a base just to start, and then I can go in and I can left click and I can hit make unique on all of these. That way maybe the first 8-bar intro is the intro and it does something different, and then the verse will come in for 16 bars, and then the hook for 8, verse for 16, maybe a little bridge, and then another hook. It's all about how you want to separate it within the patterns. But again, you don't have to create new patterns every single time you do this. By making them unique, it'll do that for you, and you could adjust as you're cooking up your beat. With all that being said, there's also going to be a second link in the description below where you can add your email, then you'll be sent the drum loop from this video for free. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and drop a comment down below telling me what you would like to learn next. And if you haven't already, smack that subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll be notified every time I put out a new video. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is El Lobo, and I'll see you in the next one.